Well, thanks so much for everyone joining us tonight. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing. However, I know there's a lot of passion of the team on here. We had over 130 registrations for this. So we're really excited because I'm Jamie Dorley. I'm CEO and owner and co-founder of Nutritional Frontiers. I've actually been doing this for 34 years. That might be longer than some of you have been around or alive. And I really have a strong passion for quality. And we started Nutritional Frontiers 17 years ago, and we've been on a mission ever since. And our mission is really simple, to make the world healthy, and we do that one person at a time. So we practice mind, body, and soul intelligence, and we want to provide for you the tools that you can make your life better, your staff, your patients, your customers, your family, and make everyone healthy. And it's quite the challenge that we are facing these days because, we know that there's been a lot of run for the cure, and they haven't caught anything yet. So we like to run for the cause. And we want to do is look at lifestyle therapies, the shakes, and then nutraceuticals. And when you look at this overall, quality really determines results. And we're going to really explain some key things tonight that'll give you a really good blueprint to determine if true quality exists. The nice thing with Nutritional Frontiers, you know who the owner is, right? We are a family-owned, faith-based, mission-driven, Pittsburgh-based company. My son, Zach Dorley, the future, he's actually a biochemist, and he's meeting right now about some of the formulations. So take a lot of pride in this. We are very transparent. So if you have any questions tonight, Christine's working the chat room, so you can do any messages right there and ask questions as we go. And then afterwards, you can always contact us. We are also doing a lot of training for offices. So if you like me, Joe, Christine, anyone on the team to do Dr. Len and Zoom training for your office or in-person training, we love to do that. And we have some really cool stuff coming up that me and Christine will be talking about tonight, where you can participate even on a weekly basis with our Lunch and Learn. So we'll get into that in a little bit. So I'm going to jump right in here. Really, the question that comes up all the time for me is, how do you determine true quality in the nutraceutical field? And the cool thing is that now more than ever, we have the quality control standards in. So the whole theory behind the quality in the industry is that what's coming in is clean, what's made in the bottle is clean, and what we're really trying to do is guarantee two things: purity and potency. But it goes a lot deeper than that. And we're going to explain some of those ways here tonight. So when you look at this, what are we really going to talk about tonight? There's really 5 things that I identified that are really important for you to understand. The nutraceutical industry overall, what does that mean? We're going to talk about what is the SHEA Act and the FDA and what's their involvement. Nutritional Frontiers, I'll show you in a minute, is a USA FDA registered company, and we are on the FDA list. What about the manufacturing facilities where the products are actually made? The CGMP, the current good manufacturing practices, what does that mean? Now, those two are really key. It lays the foundation, but really when you start to determine true quality and the therapeutic effectiveness of the formulation, you got to look at generic versus PRT. And if you're not sure what PRT stands for, you'll learn it tonight. Patented, research, trademarked. Nutritional Frontiers, even though we are a younger company, we're growing and successful, we carry over 50 PRTs. Why? There's tremendous science behind it for safety and efficacy, and I'm going to show you on our website where you can find all the documentation. In addition, there's products and there's formulations. And Nutritional Frontiers, we have over 90% of ours are formulations, and we're going to show you the difference. L-lysine versus Immune Boost. Slippery elm or glutamine versus GI Complete. We're going to show you how the formulations will do 2 things: better results for your patients and customers, and a better value for the customer and a better profit for the practice. We'll talk a little more about that. And then the clinical efficacy. I'm so proud to announce that, Christine and myself have put together 12 brand ambassadors for Nutritional Frontiers, and I was meeting with a client recently, a newer client, Marilyn, and I showed Dr. Z, our team. She goes, wow, this is awesome. You have a medical doctor. you have a DO, you have a naturopath, chiropractor, registered dietitian. You go right down the list, pharmacist with Dr. Lennon, naturopathic medical doctor. So we have a really cool, complete team of about 12 brand ambassadors with different backgrounds and disciplines. However, they speak the same language and share the same philosophy. In addition, we own the World of Wellness. So if you've been to the World of Wellness, you know this was the late, great international icon, Dr. James Weiner Wellness Center. This is the third generation of the Wellness Center, originally the Pain Release Clinic, then Weiner Wellness Center, now World of Wellness. So we carry all the top brands in the World of Wellness. What we find is that protocols are too wide. So we do a nutritional frontiers, and we find out what ingredients work well in the Wellness Center, and then we start putting them together. An example of that is a GI Complete, which I'm going to show you tonight. Used to be 8 products, and now it's one formulation. It's our #1 seller. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to switch gears to the website so you guys can get a really good, accurate look at what we're talking about here. So if you go to Nutritional Frontiers website, this is our new and improved website. It's been around a few years. The whole idea of the website is going to be an interactive playground for wellness. For you, your staff, your patients, everyone can participate on our website. In addition, now we have the affiliate program and a new script pad. So your patients, your customers, you and your staff can all go on there and participate in all the incredible education. So if you want to learn more about, we do the 4x4. So there's 4 check downs here in the top. If you click on any of these, you'll see that there's 4 below it. So if you want to learn anything about our story and our company, it's pretty cool. It's really interesting, that we were able to put together Nutritional Frontiers. We are one of the youngest companies out there that's working with the healthcare professionals, and it gives you a little more insight to who we are, and you can meet the team. So, for example, if you want to click on Meet the Team, there's all of our people. There's me, Melinda, my son Zach, Christine, Justin down in Texas. You got the whole team here, and you can actually check out their bios. Really interesting, right? So we have all the people here. You can look at their backgrounds. You can click on Sydney and see what she's done. She's in charge of social media. And then when you click down below, then you have all of our brand ambassadors. There they are: Dr. Len, Dr. Bob, Dr. Tracy, Judy Mikovits, Pauline, and Jacqueline. We got to get a couple of the other ones on there. Richard Silver, Dr. V, Lori Roman. So they're all involved in our formulation. So you know that, we have the quality control standards. We have the people on our team with the experience. We're completely transparent. We have all of our brand ambassadors. So great opportunity. I always ask people, do you know the owner of your favorite supplement company other than Nutritional Frontiers? If you don't, you want to question that. Most companies have sold to venture capitalists, investment bankers, or pharmaceutical companies. One of our favorites down the road, not going to mention any names. However, they've been sold multiple times. And, what happens then is the people change, the formulation change, and the whole business changes. So at Nutritional Frontiers, we're privately owned by myself. We don't have any investment backers at all, so you know that we have complete control of all the formulations. So there's no excuses, folks. We're completely transparent. So let's learn about quality. So one is, let's look at certifications. I mentioned the GMP before. But let's start with the DSHEA Act. Are you guys familiar with the DSHEA Act? Is anybody familiar with it? If you aren't, you're going to learn about it right now. You can always go to the website for a little extra tutorial. DSHEA stands for Dietary Supplement Health Education Act. It started around 1994. And the whole idea was the FDA says, you know what? This is like the Wild West. Me and Mike Gallagher were working in the field back then, and the quality control was so inconsistent that we knew we needed to welcome on the DSHEA Act. And what that did is it took supplements, it put them in its own category as a food-based supplement. So all that means is we got our own classification, and part of the DSHEA Act is the FDA would be involved. We are a USA FDA registered company, and the DSHEA Act really wanted to create the GMP certifications.
Done.
Hello? Question? Oh, okay. So GMP certification, what does that mean? The C means current, and the GMP means good manufacturing practices. So what does that mean? I often get the question, I need to see a C of A. Well, that tells me right away that it's a great question. However, if you're familiar with the GMP, it's part of the process. So think of GMP almost like the health department inspecting restaurants, right? So they inspect McDonald's and they inspect Del Frisco's. What's the difference? They're both clean. The difference is the quality of ingredients that come in. So you can apply that to the nutraceutical industry too. So think of the GMP as more the facility, and that they're going to do a few things. They're going to test for microbes. That's really important these days. Ingredients come from all over the world. You have different grow seasons. Sometimes it's hotter. Sometimes there's more rain like we had in Pittsburgh this spring. Sometimes it's colder. So you can develop in the transportation microbes. So they're all tested before they get into the manufacturing facility. Number two, heavy metals. Aren't we all concerned with heavy metals, right? We know if we go off the coast 200 miles and go 200 feet down, the research proves in all the testing that there's still heavy metals. It's become part of the ecosystem. So heavy metals, microbes, and then we have the C of A, Certificate of Analysis. What that does, if we say, hey, test the DMGs coming in, we need a C of A, all the testing is done to show that that's actually DMG, what purity it's at, it's free of heavy metals, free of microbes, and then most importantly, when that's all done, it's clean, we want to make sure it's accurate on the label claim. We actually put on the label true extracts and the elemental amount of the mineral. For example, magnesium. We're going to have an expert come in a few minutes, so we're going to talk about what that means. But we put the true amounts of milligrams on there, not the weight, but how much elemental magnesium is in there. So really important that we're doing all of the regulations, all the facilities are inspected, and that's just an overview on it. Let's look at some of the testing to show you guys that we actually go to the labs. There's me and the team, Dr. Tracy from a few years ago, looking at the lab. That was to do label, claim, potency, right? So that if it says 500 milligrams of DMG in the GI Complete, how much is in there? About 500 milligrams, right? It could be plus or minus 2%. What about Certificate of Analysis? There I am with some of the HPLC equipment. This technology is super sophisticated. It's very expensive. You need the right equipment, the right facilities, and you need the people there that have the clinical experience and the laboratory experience to do all the testing. So that's me checking out the lab a few years ago. And then we looked at heavy metal testing, right? So when you're in these facilities, you got to be, covering up the hair. Well, mostly mine is on my face, but covering it all up, having the gowns on. You have to go in a certain way and come out a certain way. But the quality control standards in nutraceuticals is better than it's ever been. And it's really designed to do two things overall. One is purity. If we say that there's no heavy metals, then it's no heavy metals. And the second thing is potency. If we say there's 500 milligrams, that's how much is in there. And when it's all said and done, we also have the opportunity to do third-party independent analysis. So what does that mean? That means when the formulation is complete, like GI Complete, we send it out to a company called Eurofins. They are the #1 testing company in the world. They are a very sophisticated lab from Germany, but they have locations throughout the U.S. And the third-party independent testing, all they do is test. They don't care if it passes or fails. So why do we do that? We want to see, in addition to what we're doing in-house, if there's anything that could possibly have happened in the transportation, contamination, anything at all. So especially important on proteins and fish oils. So, if it comes in and we do the third-party testing on the fish oil and it didn't meet the standards, then it's rejected. So that's really important, especially for our SPMs, fish oils, and protein powders. So overall, we're following all of the regulations to get to, we say, purity and potency. Now, when we look at it, we look at it overall. Those are the 5 things that we're looking for, right? So let's give you an example why these are so important. Quality control. New York State Attorney General, you guys have probably heard about this, is about 10 years ago. What they did is they started independently testing products that were in GNC Walgreens, Rite Aid, and Walmart. And what they found is that, reminds me of the old commercial for the dentist, 4 out of the 5 products did not test out well. And they were very concerned with that. And probably the biggest issue was that they had herbs and they were only leaf. And if you know about herbs, there's no extracts in the leaf. It's all in the root. So when they make the liquid herbs, they have to actually steep down those roots to get the extract. So when they tested a lot of these, there are a lot of them were just the leaf, like ginkgo or milk thistle. You're not getting the activity. I always say to people, the most expensive product is the one that doesn't work. Do not buy your supplements in some of these brand stores, right? Here's the example. GNC and the Attorney General, they were busted by it. In addition, they actually taken action. Me and Mike Gallagher, if you know Mikey, worked in the supplement industry in the 90s before the Shea Act. We got a protein in. We were so excited, and we looked on the label. It said 26 grams of protein, 0 carbs, 0 fat, 0 sugars, right, across the board. And I said, that's impossible because protein's not 100% protein, even the top whey protein, the isolates, because you have moisture and ash and there's some other components of it. However, ASN, our buddies Reggie and Muhammad out in Philadelphia area, guaranteed that it was. And after we tested it, we found out it was 50% sugar. This is going back to 1996. And once the regulations kicked in, lo and behold, what happened to ASN? Well, they shut them down. For what? Failure to follow food safety regulations. Not good. Unsanitary conditions, including rodent feces. You can only imagine, how scary that is. Adulteration and misbranding. What does that mean? Well, if you look at the protein field, right, protein's very expensive now. And there are different grades of protein. So some like milk protein or soy are really cheap. Others like our hydro beef and our new clean collagen protein are a little more expensive. So what were they doing? They were taking soy and milk protein and diluting and adulterating the high quality whey isolate. So also the misbranding of these things. Undeclared allergens. If you have a milk allergen, you don't want milk protein in your formulation. Cross-contamination, right? So failure to cure these deficiencies, and they were shut down in 2009. That was music to my ears. One, because I had a personal experience with them, and, we felt they were really unethical. And, eventually it got them, right? So that's why we're transparent. We do things the right way. And the guy says, well, it doesn't matter. I says, well, it does matter. He said, the industry saying it's 80%. I go, no, it's 100%. You're at 50%. And, of course, years later, they got shut down. So important to look at it. So when we look at overall, I'm transitioning a little bit because the need of a multivitamin, right? The FDA and the American Medical Association, the AMA, actually said in 2002, this is doctors from Medical School of Harvard, because low vitamin intake has been linked to a host of these illnesses, they recommend that everyone takes a multi regardless of age. The problem is that they did not really tell you what type of multivitamin to take. So I really want to look at, when you're looking at a formulation, what are the 3 things you need to do? We looked at the industry overall, right? We want to look at the actual products now, right? What is the formulation? So one is potency. That's how much is in there. So vitamin C, 100 milligrams versus 10. The form, the bioavailability is really important because that's going to determine absorbability, assimilation, and excretion. And the last one is purity. What else is in there we don't want to be in there? So I'm going to talk about therapeutic dosing and bioavailability, but I want to bring an industry expert. This is how God works. We had this webinar set up for weeks, if not months. And then lo and behold, I got a call last week, and gentleman, Rick Harnish from Balchem and Albion. This guy is an industry expert. He's been around since the hot stuff days in the 1990s. His network is endless, and he's a very generous man. with all his incredible knowledge and education. So he said he can come in tonight for a few minutes. So I'd like to welcome Rick Harnish. Come on down, Rick. Crowd's going crazy. How are we doing, buddy?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
Good. So I know you're an expert in the industry. I'd like you to talk a little bit or a lot about these patented, research, trademarked ingredients. So I know you've been working in the field. How long now?
36 years.
Wow. You must have started when you were a baby.
I was a baby, right out of diapers.
So 36 years, 34 years, close enough, right? So who do you work for now?
I started with Albion, 26 years. Balchem bought us in 2016. So since then, we've acquired a lot of branded ingredients added to our portfolio. And each ingredient we have is a leader in its field.
Yeah, and I know I work with Dr. Jeffrey Bland, the father of functional medicine. He had introduced me to bisglycinate.
Years ago, yeah.
Yeah, one of your formulations.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
can you give us just a little overview on what you guys do that's different? Because, you know, the form to me is the most important. You know, that determines the bioavailability, the absorption, the assimilation. So can you take us through like a mag oxide to a citrate to a glycinate to what you do?
So what we make, we have different forms of magnesium. We have magnesium bisglycinate chelate. Albion is the originator of chelated minerals. Albion's been in business for 69 years.
69 years. Wow, that's incredible.
So it all started from an animal nutrition, and based on the learnings of animal nutrition, morphed into human nutrition. We realized that we had to pre-chelate a mineral to enhance the absorption. So when you look at a magnesium bisglycinate chelate, that's a 2-to-1 ratio of glycine, the amino acid, to magnesium, which basically attaches to both sides, creating a dipeptide molecule. So what does this dipeptide molecule do? It enhances the absorption. It does not ionize in the gut with dietary proteins.
So you're taking magnesium and attaching it to amino acids.
We're reacting it to an amino acid,
glycine.
2 bonds, yeah, 2-to-1 ratio. Also, any phytic or oxalic acids that are typically found in vegetables and potatoes, things like that, those will also block the absorption of minerals. The chelate is not affected by that. So it passes through the gut into the intestinal tract, gets absorbed as an entire molecule into the mucosal cell, into the bloodstream. And that's why when you're looking at bioavailability, magnesium or bisglycinate chelate is 2.5 times more bioavailable than mag oxide and 2.3 times more than magnesium citrate.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And I know there are some regular, what's the difference between a mag glycinate versus a mag bisglycinate?
So the true product is a mag bisglycinate. It's got to be a 2-to-1 ratio. There's a lot of companies that sell a mag glycinate. They've genericized the molecule, and it's not even fully reacted, particularly if those minerals are anywhere from 20 to 40% elemental magnesium. Those are what we call admixtures. So they're just blending oxide with glycine. There's no bond, there's no reaction. So what's going to happen is once that gets through the gut into the intestinal tract, chances are they may have an upset stomach. It's like putting your fingers on a chalkboard, right?
Mm.
And the bioavailability is going to be negligible. So you really have to pay attention to labels. In our case, if you see the Albion Minerals, Albion trademark and any reference to Albion gold medallion on some products, you're getting the real McCoy and you're going to get the most bioavailable form of magnesium.
Well, I love it. I'm going to hold your mic for a second because I know you're a great storyteller, right? And I love the story you tell about the magnesium being the beach ball and the bonds. Can you tell that for everyone? Because it creates such a cool picture that people can understand.
Yeah, well, what it is basically a structure. So let's just say this is the mineral, and this hand here is one amino acid, and this hand is another amino acid. This is a 2-to-1 ratio, the hands being the amino acid with the mug here being the mineral. So you have to bond. You have to have the covalent bond and create the structure where it stays stable, where it's not going to disassociate during digestion, and is lax enough that once it gets into the mucosal cell, into the bloodstream, that it will break apart. So the 3 components are the mineral, the amino acid, and any residual H2O in the reaction of the product. And so what we say about Albion Minerals in general is that they are 100% nutrient dense, because the body will use each of those components, whereas a mag oxide may be 36 to 40%. It only has 36 to 40% nutrient density.
So when you're using the glycine, can you explain a little bit about the size of it? Because, people say, oh, the mag oxide has 500 milligrams, right? and yours only has 100 milligrams. So when you're attaching it to the glycine, what happens to the molecular weight?
Well, the molecular weight's determined by the amino acid. To be a chelate, it's got to be less than 800 atomic mass units. If it's bigger than that, then once it gets in the stomach acid, it's going to try to be broken down. And when that happens, it's going to render it not in a chelate structure. And it's basically going to be two components get absorbed versus a single bonded, fully reactive chelate structure.
So what's the end result? I love our Mag Complete. I know I'm biased, but I tell you what, I take those at night. One of my clients said he takes 6.
It helps him
Dr.
sleep.
Tom Burnett. Yep. And I says, oh, man. I says, this guy's a concussion specialist. He's a medical doctor. And I had my daughter up there a while ago for a concussion. I said, well, he says, I love the Mag Complete. It's the best magnesium on the market. I go, what do you use it for? He said, leg cramps. He says, blood pressure and sleep. I said, well, how many do you take? He says, you want me to tell you to be honest? I said, yeah. He says 6.
Yeah.
So I was taking 2 to 4. I went up to 6, and it does make a huge difference. Working out in the heat, like I don't get the leg cramps. My calves don't cramp up anymore. So what is the typical result that people are going to get in your experience with using this?
Same thing as your friend. I mean, magnesium is an amazing mineral, activates 300 metalloenzymes. I've seen some documents out there that say it activates over 600. Okay, so it's a mineral for us that is volume-wise, what we produce is number one. I mean, we've got customers buying hundreds of metric tons of magnesium from us, and we are the leader when it comes to magnesium.
Yeah, and we love our Mag Complete. That is a combination of 3 different magnesiums, malate, taurate, and the mag bisglycinate. We also came out because with the mag glycinate, with your mag bisglycinate. Our ultimate shake, we use your Trax minerals, right? Our multivitamins, we use that. The Frontier Men's Complete, the Frontier Multi, the Frontier Women's Complete. We use these minerals across the board. Our Frontier Minerals has all of these, and it makes a huge difference, folks. In the Wellness Center, people come in, they can have high blood pressure. We start them out with that, right? Mm-hmm. Stress, we'll give them that. Any kind of leg cramps. But you're right, 600 different biochemical. In fact, it was a few years ago because they still had newspapers.
Yeah.
But it was a Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and there was a great article from UPMC talking about magnesium deficiency. Is it the underlying cause of diabetes, hypertension? They went right down this list of different things, and it was interesting because you wouldn't expect UPMC to put that out.
Anything that has a metabolic syndrome is going to be affected by a lack of nutrients, particularly minerals. You look at things like chromium. A lot of people have blood sugar issues. Chromium and vanadium are phenomenal, but magnesium also works on that also. Magnesium works on everything. And so what I would do if somebody's got conditions is find out a way to get a test to see if they are deficient in magnesium, and then use that as a course of action, as part of their nutritional protocol.
Yeah, and on the website, we have the list of ingredients, right, that we use the Trax minerals in, but you mentioned some of the other ones, chromium, right? We use the magnesium. We're using some of the calcium, right? So we're using the different minerals, and the cool thing is if you go onto the website and you like to look at the research, we have some people that really like that.
Yep.
All you got to do is click on right here, and then here's some of the papers that you guys provided us with. I know you have a lot more. Can you just give us a little background on some of the research you guys have done?
Well, we've done a lot of research with prenatal vitamins, magnesium and blood sugar issues, even with people that have asthma and things like that. Magnesium is really good with asthma. It helps relax the bronchial tubes in the lungs. So there's a lot of things on magnesium, and what you have here is we've supplied research notes that have been written over the years, all still valid information. Some of it may be dated, but it's a wealth of information to look at things as you're attempting to formulate new products for your brand.
Yeah, and Rick's been a really imperative part of our process of creating formulations, right? And it's been really cool to work with you over the years. This guy is a wealth of knowledge. He's always helping us out, giving us the good, bad, and the ugly of the industry. So one is the minerals, so that's chromium, magnesium, the vanadium. Maybe you can share a little bit, too, with we call it easy iron. Because, typically when a woman gets pregnant or they have anemia or fatigue, they have an iron deficiency. And usually what happens, they give them iron oxide.
Yeah. Well,
what happens?
Yeah, that's laxation all over. So Ferrochel is a ferrous bisglycinate chelate, 2-to-1 ratio of the glycine to iron. That's a flagship product for us. We sell it around the world. It's also going that along with our ferric glycinate, which is not a chelate, but it's 19% versus 20% for the Ferrochel. So it goes into food fortification, whether it's baked goods, yogurts, milk fortification, particularly UHT milk in Latin America and places like that. So iron is very important. A lot of companies sell an iron as a serum in a droplet bottle or something like that, particularly for kids. So I've had over the years friends of mine that are pediatric nutrition, pediatric doctors that have used brands out there that use our iron in liquids and given it to kids that were iron deficient or anemic, and over a period of weeks, they were able to reverse that. So
yeah, it's wild. We use it in our Women's Complete.
Yep.
Dr. Mary Bella Verdialis, one of our brand ambassadors. She's an OBGYN and a naturopath. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, good
Plus
combination.
a fertility specialist.
Yeah.
So she came out with the Woman's Complete, and one of the ingredients she was so excited about was the iron bisglycinate. We also use it in the easy
all the
iron.
albumin minerals work. The prenatal and fertility, men's and women, is a big category for us. And there's a lot of top companies that have developed some really sophisticated products that use everything that we make, whether it's vitacholine, albumin minerals, Optifolin Plus. Vitacholine is very important. So
let's hear about that.
So we have a whole range.
So vitacholine, and there's the Ferrochel. So there's your right in a row.
Yeah.
So the Ferrochel is the patented research trademark version of iron.
Right.
We use it in our Easy Iron plus a Women's Complete.
Yeah.
We actually had a former teammate of ours, Candace, and she works with Get Healthy now.
Yeah.
And
I
she
remember
started
her.
taking started taking the Women's Complete, and that was it. She was they were trying to get pregnant, and then she says that was the secret weapon.
I've got a friend of mine in Houston that's a well-known chiropractor and nutritionist.
Oh, what's his name?
And Dr. Ron Grabowski in Houston.
You got that, Justin?
And
Ron Grabowski.
Ron is a guy. He's got his own line. He's got some products he's developed using albumin minerals. But over the years, he's had a lot of people that have spent a fortune trying to have kids. And what he does, he also works with SpectraCell. He's the medical director for SpectraCell, for the testing, which is based on white blood cell count. And once he does that and sees what the nutritional profile is, particularly of the mom, now it's not just the mom, it's also the dad, he puts them on a protocol. And then here, a couple months later, they're going to the office and saying, hey, Dr. Grabowski, we're having a baby, right? And
that gives me chills, right?
Well, it just tells you that nutrient deficiencies create a lot of things that can and cannot happen metabolically in your body.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Candace's friend, we just come out with the Woman's Complete. We were in the old building.
Yep.
And she says, oh, my friend's anemic. She's exhausted.
Yep.
And they tested her iron. It was low. So what's the doc give her? Iron oxide.
Yeah.
So how does she feel? Constipated, stomach pain, really miserable. So I said, try the Woman's Complete. And in 6 weeks, anemia is gone with blood work, fatigue is gone, and no GI distress.
Yeah, Ferrochel is very gentle on the stomach.
Yeah, so we call ours Easy Iron because it's so gentle on there. It uses the iron bisglycinate plus some of the support nutrients. Can you go through a little bit? I know you got a couple more minutes. I know you got a big meeting at 7:15.
Yep.
So, oh, sure, let's hear it. Great question. Is it safe to take during pregnancy? Yes. This started as a prenatal. And then Dr. V was like, over 50% of pregnancies, even in committed relationships, are not planned. And they don't really know until about 4, 6, 8 weeks later. So you can take it through all the stages of life, pretty much from puberty all the way through menopause. If you're pregnant, nursing, trying to get pregnant, you can do up to 4 capsules a day. For pregnancy and nursing, we recommend the Woman's Complete and Omega-3D because the Woman's Complete has the probiotic, the active Balchem, tracks minerals. It has the active vitamins. It has superfoods and DMG. You can take that all the way through. Super safe, developed by a fertility specialist, naturopath, and OBGYN. So there's an example of a formula that we've created that's not just a product. A lot of prenatals are big horse pills They don't have the right forms. They don't have the trace minerals. They don't have the superfoods. And they definitely don't have the lactospore, which is a probiotic. So great question. The answer is absolutely.
So prenatal supplements are amazing because that's a big category that we play in. Basically, they need to be taken pre-conception as you're planning and up to 1 year after the baby's born, especially if you're breastfeeding. You need to get the nutrition through to the baby.
Oh, yeah, and they said one of the big things with postpartum depression is lack of nutrients and omega-3Ds.
Yeah, so they would get that if they continued to take the prenatal post-pregnancy.
So can you highlight the VitaCholine a little bit? Because this is one that I've heard about a lot. I'd like to get a little more insight to what VitaCholine is. I know it's great for the brain and the liver. Can you give us a little more education on what VitaCholine is?
So choline is very important for liver health, brain health, cognitive function in general. It's really good in prenatal supplements as it transfers, to the fetus during the term. VitaCholine is a natural L+ tartaric acid. It's 40% choline active, per 100 grams. We do very well with this. We sell a lot of it. The FDA RDI of 550 milligrams was established in 2016. Yeah. We're the reason for that. So we developed at least a minimum.
So they raised the dosing based on your research.
Based on working with them. That's been out for quite a while now, 9 years now. So that's been very well. But VitaCholine we sell around the world. It goes into food fortification. It goes into all kinds of different products. There's different forms of VitaCholine. There's a choline chloride. There's our choline dihydrogen citrate, and we have our choline L+ bitartrate in different mesh sizes, depending on the application.
So this would be a better alternative to maybe a phosphatidylcholine that's very popular in the market?
I think it's a more complete form because of the amount of choline that's in there. Women, you're talking about prenatal, they probably need about 930 milligrams a day of active choline. So you're not going to get that in a single prenatal. Right. You just can't put that much in there. So I was talking with Zach earlier today, the opportunity to develop a sidecar product that's just choline by itself that you take in conjunction with a prenatal will give the mom more of her daily choline need.
Be a great formulation for Q4 for hormones.
Yep.
So Christine, put that on the marketing channel. We need a little reminder for Junior to get that rolling. So
get it rolling.
Well, cool. Any parting shots for all your fans? We have like 100 and some people on the podcast or webinar tonight. So
just keep doing what you're doing. Take your supplements, and best of health to everybody.
Thanks so much, Rick.
Right,
I
brother.
appreciate it, and we'll see you when you're done tonight. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks
we'll
so much
you.
for coming in. So that's just part of our team. We have over 50 different patented research, trademarked ingredients that we use, and about 30 different companies that we use. So Rick is an expert in the industry. I know he went through a lot of technical things, but remember, when you use the right forms of the ingredient, your body, what's glycine? It's an amino acid, right? So it's part of protein. If protein's the alphabet, the amino acid's the letters. So glycine is an amino acid. Anything ending in INE, amino acid. So when you take the magnesium or the iron and you actually attach it to the amino acid, your body recognizes it like a protein and absorbs it like a protein. If it's not the right form, think about you grabbing your gloves for the winter, and you go to put the glove on, it's the wrong hand. So you put the right glove on the left hand. Does it work? Not really. That's kind of what happens when you take a oxide or one of the other forms that are chelates that are not covalent bonded. So we take a lot of pride in the quality of the ingredients, and this is another example. So this is all on the website to check out, and thanks, Rick, so much. That was fantastic. Really appreciate it. All right, so we're going to get back to this a little bit. So the reason I'm going to go into the multi and fish oil, these are the two biggest sellers in the nutraceutical field. In fact, multivitamins, if you're not carrying them in your clinic or your wellness center, they really account for about 10 to 12% of the sales overall in our entire industry. JAMA has said here that everyone needs a multivitamin, right? That was back in June of 2002, folks. It's over 20 years ago. So the problem is the doctors don't tell them what type of multi, if they even tell them at all. So here's the typical one a day. If you look at some of the ingredients, one of the things you want to look for is oxides. You want to look for, DL tocopherol for vitamin E. You know, as one of our clients said, the L stands for loser. It should be D-alpha tocopherol, right? When you're looking at forms of B6, it should be P5P, right? So there's different forms of these ingredients you really got to look for on the label. So this example right here, it has a lot of what we consider the lowest forms of them, including the worst one is the B12. If it's cyanocobalamin, folks, you know that product's got to be tossed. In fact, Paulina Petrusevich, one of our brand ambassadors up in Michigan, she calls it the basket of shame. Have your clients bring their products in and teach them how to read the labels. You can get a copy of this presentation. You can call us, you can email us, whatever it takes. But we want to empower your people so that they're able to look at the label and actually be able to determine what's in it. We, in fact, actually provide for you all the tech sheets. So if they can't see the label or you want to give them a flyer or go on the website, you can look at all those right on there. But it's the amount of the ingredients, the form, as Rick was mentioning, and what else is in there. So you ever see a Centrum vitamin or a one-a-day that's colored? You guys have seen that? Yellow? What is that? Yellow dye. And now, thank God, the new guy in charge of health, right, Mr. Kennedy, that's one of the first things he's doing is taking dyes out of food. It's also in the supplements. The last thing you want to do is take a supplement that actually has additives that you don't want. In fact, Centrum has things like talc, right, polyvinyl alcohols. It has things in there to actually hold it together, right? And then it has the dyes and colorings and additives we don't want. So that's just a short list of the ingredients, and not real impressive. I would tell people, don't even take this, right? This should actually go in the garbage can. Remember, the most expensive supplement is the one that doesn't work. This one actually would cause extra toxicity to you. Your body's not going to be able to break these down and get any nutrients out of it. So when you look at things like our Frontier Multi, you see right there, Rick's company, TRAX, right? Do you know what TRAX stands for? The Real Amino Acid Chelating System. He just explained it's covalent bonded. Your body identifies like a protein, absorbs it like a protein. In addition, we use quadrifolate, right? That is 4th generation folic acid. I just learned about 5th generation. We'll have to look at that one for later in the year. But the quadrifolate's fantastic because your body will absorb that much better than folic acid. In addition, we had things like Lutamax in here. Does anyone know what Lutamax is? It's another PRT, patented, research, trademarked ingredient. And the cool thing about Lutamax, it won ingredient of the year a few years ago. And if you look at the macula of the eye, the center of the eye, that's where all your vision is. So if someone macular degeneration, they'll look at it a corner of their eye because the macula for them doesn't work as well or it's become cloudy. So they did research to see what are the nutrients in the macula. And they found, interesting enough, lutein everyone knows about, right? And then you have 2 types of zeaxanthin, RR and RS. So those 3 nutrients put together, that matrix is actually the Lutamax. And we don't only use it in our 2020 RI formula, but we use it in our Frontier Multi. So we're using a lot of patented, research, trademarked ingredients, the active vitamins, the TRAX covalent bonded chelated minerals, superfoods, and then extra support nutrients in here. So we've updated this over time with the quadrifolate and the Lutamax, red beet powder. We bumped the vitamin D levels up in this. So, and it's all in a veggie capsule. We rarely will use tablets unless we're trying to get a delayed response. A lot of companies will use tablets because that's what they make. Maybe their facility wants to use tablets, or they're a huge company and they don't want to pay the penny for each one of the veggie caps. We only use veggie capsules here. And if we're going to do a delayed release or time release, at times we've used some of the tablets. So what makes our formulas so special is that all these patented, research, trademarked ingredients. We currently use over 50 of them. You know, something like Nutriglutide for weight loss and blood sugar, that addresses 4 metabolic pathways. So we have 6 different patented, research, trademarked ingredients in one formulation. If you bought those individually for the Nutriglutide, you're looking at about $225. When you buy it in a one formula, it's less than $100. So you get the therapeutic, you get the dosing, you get the form, and then, of course, you're getting the value built in right with it, too. So there's our options. We talked a little about the Woman's Complete. I'm actually getting a text with a question. How many Woman's Complete do you recommend if somebody's trying to get pregnant? Well, we looked at this and we say, hey, 1 for a teenager for prevention, 2 in your 20s. If you're trying to conceive, we recommend 3 or 4. So you can do those safely to get pregnant, during nursing, and even after pregnancy. And then the only thing we'd recommend to combine that with would be an omega-3D or fish oil. We'll go into that in a minute. The other thing is maybe probiotics, but there is probiotics in the Woman's Complete. We actually use the lactospore, which is really cool because it's been studied for women's health. It's a bacillus coagulin, so it's a spore former. The reason we use spore formers in there is that you can combine those with other ingredients, and it does not break down the probiotic. Whereas something like the Superbiotic, it's just probiotics. And then we came out with the new one. You know, the men always come last, and it is Men's Health Month, so we got to give it out for the Frontier Men's Complete. So the reason we came out with that is we have the Woman's Complete that has the nutrients that are a little more specific for the female. We have the Men's Complete where you have things in there to support the prostate, 100 milligrams of CoQ10, and so many other nutrients that a men would require for circulation factors and things like that. So either one. The original Frontier Multi is still a classic. We have the Woman's Complete, and now we have the Men's Complete. You know, the last thing I want to do is take a look at is fish oil, because this is probably one of the most common ones that people buy from a mass market, maybe a Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, Target, even some at GNC. This was a study looked at in JAMA in 1995, St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas. And what they really want to do, when you see a graph like this, you just got to figure out what do they measure on the left and at the bottom. You know, so on the left, it is the ratio of omega-3s. So if you look at your cell, way back in school, we drew the cell membrane, and the fluid in there is fats. And what they found is that the more concentrated that is with omega-3s, the less likelihood of a cardiac event. In fact, when you get the omega-3 content of your cells up to about 10%, you're going to reduce your risk factors by 90%. So you're supposed to say, wow, Phil. Wow. So just with omega-3D, you can reduce your risk factors by 90%. This was in JAMA, 1995. In fact, based on this study, what they did is they incorporated fish oil in the pharmaceutical industry. So things like Lavazza. In fact, Nutritional Frontier, speaking of quality, one of the gentlemen on our team, Todd Parker, worked with him for the last 20 plus years. His medical director is Dr. Jorn Dyerberg. This guy is phenomenal. He's a cardiologist, and he has studied fish oil since the 60s. His first published study was 1971. Over 400 published studies since then, looking at blood lipids, cardiovascular risk factors, looking at triglycerides, really fascinating stuff. So Dr. Michael Wald, who spoke for us for years, he would always come out with fish oil pretty quick and vitamin D, and he'd say, they have a test for it. He says, no, I tell my patients, if you do the test and you're low, what am I going to tell you to do? Take the fish oil. If you do the test and your numbers are good, what am I going to tell you? Keep taking it. And we know that magnesium is the number one nutritional deficiency in the world. Number 2 is going to be omega-3D. And then we look at vitamin D3. So let's look at Kirkland. We've all seen this, right? We're going through Costco and we see omega 1000, right? We see fish oil and people say, wow, this is only 10 or 20 bucks. The omega-3D is 60 to 90 depending on the size. So it's more than just the oil, folks. Think about the oil is the total volume in there, okay? We want to look at concentrations of what? EPA and DHA. Those are the active components of the fish oil. So let's look at this like we're taking a test in high school. I know it's been a few years. You're taking the test, and you get a 25%. You wouldn't even fail. You get left back, right? So when we looked at the Kirkland fish oil, you look at the 1,000 milligrams of the oil, and then right down below, you see omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, 250 milligrams. That's 25%, folks. So you're only getting 250 milligrams. You need at least 1,000 milligrams just for maintenance and prevention. And then when you start getting into anti-inflammatory and cardiovascular support, you may go 2,000 or 3,000 milligrams of the EPA and DHA. So in this example, you have to take at least 4 soft gels to get to that number. And to get to the anti-inflammatory, you would need 8 to 12. The other question I have is, what is the other oil? It's a great question. That is what we call pro-inflammatory oil. It's rancid. Do not buy fish oils where you buy your toaster oven. So let's compare it versus Nutritional Frontiers. This is 90%. It tests out over 90. It's hard to get it to 100, but over 90%, you get a much more therapeutic result, much cleaner fish oil. And the other thing is we fortified it with vitamin D3. So really cool omega-3D soft gels. We also have in a liquid that if you want to get that 2,000 to 3,000 EPA, you do 1 teaspoon in the liquid. So let's finalize this with product versus formulation. This is from the Wellness Center. This is my GI repair kit before Nutritional Frontiers, right? We have the DMG, we have glutamine, slippery elm, marshmallow, zinc, carnosine, right? It goes on and on and on and on. And when I added this up, it's about $300 to the patient. And note the number one question I would get, why don't you put it all in one formulation? So I said, we're working on it. And lo and behold, we came out with GI Complete. So rather than taking all those individual aloe and all those individual products and guessing if it's going to work and spending $300, why don't you just go with something like GI Complete, which has all those nutrients in at therapeutic dosing? So really appreciate everyone joining us tonight. It was really a pleasure to do this. And, the nice thing
Hey,
is
Jamie.
yeah.
I think you need to tell everybody that we have a special summer solstice sale
Oh, we do?
that expires tomorrow.
Uh-oh. You want to...
So you want to tell them we have 15% off the entire line. So
What? 15% off cases?
everything, not just cases, everything.
Oh, so if you buy like 5 bottles of GI Complete, you get 15% off?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, you guys must have did that when I was out to lunch. That's a very generous promotion from our marketing department. Thank you.
Yeah, so I wanted to let everyone know that if any of the formulas that Jamie mentioned tonight are something you've been curious about, you've been thinking about purchasing, or anything in the line, you have until tomorrow, and the discount will be taken into consideration when you get to the shopping cart. Now, we did have one question that popped up in the chat. When is the best time to take GI Complete, James?
I would say anytime. And it's interesting because, depending on what you're taking it for, if we've had colitis flare-ups, we have anal bleeding, you can do 2 or 3 scoops in a day, just spread out throughout the day. I've actually, I call it Fruity Pebbles, but I've been taking the GI Complete super creatine and putting in vanilla super shake as my pre or post workout. Anytime's a good time to take it, with or without food. I like throwing it right in the shake. If not, you could put it in a one of our shaker bottles and just sip it. If it's a elderly person or someone's a little bit newer to taking nutraceuticals, then I would just have them drink it once or twice a day, depending on how severe they are. But anytime's a good time to take it.
Awesome. And Jamie, I know we just published the professional training event schedule in October. Do you want to tell everybody what that's all about in case they're wanting to see us in person in the home?
I've noticed people have actually signed up already, Christine.
Outstanding.
Yes, seats are filling up fast. It reminds me of the Metallica concert. It's going to sell out. So we are super excited to host this in our hometown, Pittsburgh, PA. This event's the beginning of October the 2nd through the 5th. We're actually starting on the 1st with the Mikey Impromptu informal meeting at 7 to 9. And then it's going to be an incredible Thursday, Friday event. We listen to people's requests. They're like, we want Sunday off, but we want to come earlier in the week. So we're going to have incredible brand ambassadors and speakers. Me and Christine are going to kick it off, of course, going over all of our vendors and all the great people that'll be there, our speakers, and really giving you a deeper dive into the website and all the tools you have. We have Dr. Tracy Straub speaking, Dr. Mary Bell Verdi-Ellis, Dr. Bob, Dr. Jaquel Patterson. We have Dr. Richard Silver, Dr. Len Bransowitz, Joe Messino. And the coolest thing is, what is the theme of the weekend? Join us for the longevity revolution. You want a revolution? We got it.
I do. It's all about ways for us to heal and reverse age as best as possible. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, super exciting. Seriously, if you want to attend, let's sign up early. Do we have an early bird again?
We do have an early bird special, but you got to get in quick. And rooms are already starting to fill up. So if anybody's interested, all they need to do is go to our website and go under the education tab, and then you will see events and courses. And you can scroll down to see all the upcoming events that we have, including the VIP dinners that all lead up to our professional training event.
Yeah, we got VIP dinners. We're doing the U.S. East Coast tour again, starting in August. So we're really excited to go to places like Dallas and Atlanta. We're going to be in St. Pete this year, Boca, Orlando. Bethesda, Maryland's a new spot. Cuyahoga Falls. You been to Cuyahoga Falls?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
One of my favorite places ever. I love Ohio. We got great supporters there. We're going to go back up to Connecticut. So we're on the road. We're having fun. And, if you like what we do and you're in alignment with what we do, join our team. We have a lot of fun in what we do. I always say to people, do you feel better now that you've been on the team or have come to our events, or did you feel better before you met us? And they always say, I feel better now. So we like to have fun at the events. The coolest thing,
Jamie, I would say even more importantly than feeling better, if there could be such a thing, we've also noticed that everyone who has attended an event, they immediately learn so much that their practice thrives exponentially.
Yeah, the practice is thriving. I have a guy in the fulfillment center. I went over there today to talk to the guys, and I said, where's so-and-so? Oh, he's on vacation. I said, oh, cool. How's he doing? They said he's been doing the shake a day, and he's down almost 40 pounds since he started here.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
absolutely awesome.
We really believe in making the world healthy one person at a time. And, the professional training events are really cool because you get to build relationships and bond with like-minded people. And we do it in a fun way. The speakers hang out all weekend. They're participants in the events. We have a nice party. We go on the boat. Then Christine finishes off on Saturday with Soul Intelligence and a nice go-away brunch. So if you're interested, sign up early. I think one of the coolest things is that a lot of our clients, I was looking on the registration sheet already, they bring their staff. Mm-hmm. So can you expand on it a little bit? Because I know sometimes staff may not have the same knowledge, but I feel it's a good thing.
Yeah, we want to encourage you to bring your staff with you because it's a great learning experience for them as well. And, there's a lot of programming that relates. They also get to form friendships and have a great educational and fun experience for the weekend. And since you mentioned Soul Intelligence, next Wednesday at 6:00, if you're interested in mental and emotional wellness and healing, I'll be doing a Soul Intelligence free webinar for everyone next Wednesday at 6 p.m.
And how do they get on there?
All they have to do is to go on to our website under Eventbrite as well.
So they register on Eventbrite, no cost at all, and you're doing a free session. You know what, folks? I did one-on-ones with Christine. I still do. I guess the last 4 years. Mm-hmm. And, it was really life-changing for me. And we did a session yesterday. I tell you what, that was powerful. But something that was really cool is when I joined her on a group session, right? And it's one thing to do it by yourself. But when you do it with a group of people, you can feel the energy throughout the group. And I say give it a shot. And then more importantly, I learned this week from Kara, right? Action brings clarity. So if you're going to go on the group event, the thing you should really do to reward yourself is sign up for a series of sessions with Christine. She's reduced her rates. She's making it affordable for everyone. And I tell you what, it's probably one of the best things I've done for my health and wellness over the years. It was really that missing component for me. I'd done some therapy and I learned, I just talk about all your problems you've done or your mistakes you made. And, we can only talk about those and hear those for so long. But what Christine does is gives you a strategy and a plan and a program and a solution on how to move forward from these things. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. The program has been life-changing for me. And I've never had one person say they did not enjoy the group or the one-on-one sessions. So
Yeah, it's overwhelming, great experiences from people. So I feel very, very blessed.
in addition, my dad's reading your book right now.
Oh
So,
boy.
yep. If you like, you can get a copy of her book, Healing Through the Soul Intelligence. I know it's been sold out a couple of times, but you can go to Amazon and all the Barnes and Noble and everything else, right?
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate everybody being on here tonight. Phil, people are already clamoring. Is this being recorded? And are you sending it out? And I said, yes, we are recording, and it will be sent out as soon as we can get it put together.
Last offer. If you're interested in bringing me, Christine, Joe, Dr. Len via Zoom to your office to do staff training on quality or any of our 12 wellness solutions, we are launching a new program real soon, so stay tuned for the details. That's going to be Lunch and Learn every Wednesday live at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we like to bring this program to your office. So if you're in an area where we don't have coverage, we can actually do it by Zoom with a special qualifying offer. We may fly to your place, or we may have coverage in the area that they can actually come in and do the staff training. Because I think one of the best things that we offer that some other companies may not is that we have the people that really care and they want to provide the education so we can empower you and your staff. And we love to do this live, but we also do it via Zoom.
Absolutely. Well, we're getting lots of compliments, Jamie, in the chat room. So we just want to wish everybody a great night, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Phil, and thanks to all the people out there really supporting us. It means a lot to me to do this, so I feel very grateful tonight. Thank you.